Good morning. I'd like to bring the November 20th, 2019 Planning Advisory Commission meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. I'd like to remind those in the audience, please turn off your cell phones or silence them during this time. And I also like to remind those in the audience and on the television that this is the first hearing of any rezoning, text change, or special exception requests that are brought before us today. We'll first hear a reading of the staff report for the case by planning staff and ask the applicant to provide a brief overview of the request. We will then give the opportunity for anyone in the audience to speak for or against that request, or to inquire about the said request. Commissioners will have time for needed discussion on the case. Once a motion is made and seconded by the commission, a vote will take place. Recommendation will be rendered. The case will go back to the planning department for their independent recommendation. If a favorable recommendation is given, then the case is forwarded to City Council with the two independent recommendations. If the planning department makes a recommendation for denial, the applicant will have 10 days from the receipt of a letter stating to deny the denial to notify the clerk or council that they're requesting to be placed on City Council agenda. The City Council of Columbus will hold a public meeting, and it'll be called a first reading. Said council will then consider the case, review PAC, our recommendations, and hear discussion on the matter. Council will make a final decision at a second public meeting, and it'll be called the second reading. All right. I want to welcome everybody here this morning. First thing, we have two sets of minutes from October the 9th, and November the 6th. Has everyone had an opportunity to take a look at those minutes? Any changes? I think I had one little, okay. All right. If nobody notes any changes on those, we'll just consider those accepted. All right, this morning we have one special exception case, and that case is EXCP 10-19-6699. This is a request for a special exception use at number 5 8th Street and 801 Broadway. Current zoning is HIST, which is historic. The proposed use is a hotel. Brian Salido is the applicant. This property is located in Council District 7, Mimi Woodson. And we will hear from planning first on the staff report.
Yes, sir. The special exception use request to allow for a hotel located at 5 8th Street and 801 Broad, Columbus, Georgia, 31901. Access is or will the type of street providing access to the use be adequate to serve the proposed special special exception use. Front Avenue is a local road, 8th Street is a local road, Broadway is a collector road. These roads will provide adequate free flow movement. Traffic and pedestrian safety is or will access into and out of the property be adequate to provide for traffic and pedestrian safety, the anticipated volume of the traffic flow, and access by emergency vehicles. Access into and out of the property in question will provide for adequate traffic and pedestrian safety and emergency access. Adequacy of public facilities are or will public facilities such as school, water, sewer, utilities, and police and fire protection be adequate to serve the special exception use. Services such as water, utilities, police, and fire protection are adequate. Protection from adverse effects are or will refuge, service, parking, and loading areas on the property be located or screened to protect other properties in the area from such adverse effects as noise, light, glare, or odor. The property is surrounded by other historic uses. Noise, light, flare, and odor should be limited due to the nature of the business. Hours of operation. Will the hours and manner of operation of the special exception use have no adverse effects on the other properties in the area? The hours of operation for this use will not have an adverse impact on the neighboring properties in the area. Compatibility. Will the height, size, or location of the building or other structures on the property be compatible with the height, size, character, or location of buildings or other structures on neighboring properties? The structure's height and size and location should match the uses found in other historic properties. Council District 7, Woodson. 30 property owners within 300 feet of the property have been notified by mail of the proposed special exception use. The planning department received no phone calls or emails regarding the issue. Additional information, a public meeting was held at the Marriott on November 13, 2019 at 6 p.m. 21 people attended this meeting. Topics discussed during this meeting included traffic, parking, raised covered walkway connecting the Trade Center and the Marriott, facade board and BHAR approval, and the dumpster location. And that's all the information.
All right. Commissioners, y'all have any questions? Mr. Renfro at this time? All right. All right. Will the applicant please come up to the podium and state your case? If you will, make sure that microphone's on there. Should be a button to press. There you go. Thank you. And just tell us your name and address.
All right. Well, thank you, Ralph. Good afternoon or good morning. What day part is this?
This is morning.
This is the morning. Thank you.
This is morning.
Good morning. My name is Brian Solito. Address is 1200 6th Avenue, representing the Development Authority of Columbus. We are the owners of the property, which is currently the the south parking lot of the Marriott, where this proposed expansion of the Marriott will take place. I'm willing to respond to your questions that you might have about the project itself. I can give you kind of a brief overview of what it looks like kind of in a nutshell. The existing Marriott is a full-service hotel that is operated by Valley Hospitality, which is of the Peasold group, and it's 177 rooms. The expansion would contemplate an additional 88 rooms in order to get us to about 265 rooms directly adjacent and connected to, ultimately, the Trade Center. And thus allowing the Trade Center and the Convention and Visitors Bureau to attract more and larger conferences, of which Columbus is currently missing out on due to the fact that there is not a sufficient number of hotel rooms directly adjacent and adjoining the Convention Center. Another integral part of this specific project is a room block agreement, which also codifies that there's a certain number of rooms at a certain rate that will be available to convention and meeting planners, so that more of these types of events can occur in Columbus. Not only increasing the business at the hotel and the Trade Center itself, but also the whole uptown area with the other hotels that are coming online. I was commenting earlier today that at one point in the very near future, there are going to be 3 hotels under construction in uptown Columbus, with the addition of one expansion of a hotel, and ultimately about 700 hotel rooms in the downtown area. And we're all very excited about the changes that are taking place in the uptown area as it relates to visitors who are a very big economic impact when it comes to tourism in Columbus. Specific to this project itself, the Development Authority and the city and our partners at Valley Hospitality, we're all excited about the fact that this type, and not to mention the neighbors, are excited that this is going to have a very low impact on the site and the surrounding areas, because of the fact that it is not another standalone hotel with all of the back of the house complications that go along with that. There's not going to be the need to construct a parking garage on this site. Parking is going to be accomplished with existing on-site parking, with addition to some limited already existing street parking and the underutilized River Center parking deck, of which 125 market rate spaces will be leased to the hotel developer. So I think it was mentioned that we did have a public meeting. We had the citizens who are in the nearby historic district. They did have some questions as it related to a lot of different issues, but most of those issues were unrelated to the development itself, but they wanted to try to get a feeling for, what was being proposed and what was being planned, and we left the meeting feeling very confident that their concerns were addressed and that everybody seemed to be on board with the project.
Okay. Thank you very much. Commissioners, do you have any questions of Mr. Salido? Anyone? Everybody's quiet this morning.
When will the construction take place, begin and finish?
Thank you for that question. The Valley Hospitality has currently got a letter of intent into Marriott. They've got to get approval from Marriott for the expansion, and then they'll start with the architectural drawings, and then obviously this is going to have to go through Board of Historic Architectural Review. It'll also have to go through the facade board. So they're probably thinking that construction will begin probably in the second quarter of next year, with completion probably within 12 months.
Finish your question?
Oh, yes, sir. I'm finished.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if this is for Mr. Renfro, Mr. Salido, but page 10 on the application is very confusing to me, the way it's laid out. Can somebody address that for me?
Which is page 10.
It's actually from, I guess, from Valley Hospitality. It's a rendering, but it's got the hotel and the existing parking one way, but then it shows Front Avenue on a different, I mean, it's very confusing.
There you go.
It's under the project scope. No, it's this one right here.
It's probably this one.
Yes.
This is a continuation. This is that side of the street.
Up which side of the street?
That's the other side of 8th Street. So there it is here,
Okay.
and this is a little more.
So are you going to be, is this parking going to be considered yours as well?
This is going to be discussed in a parking plan overall strategy. Currently, the city owns this, and they're going to try to figure out how they're going to maybe utilize that as well. But even
Okay.
if we don't come to terms on that specific lot, there's plenty of parking for this project.
Okay. Isn't that lot also utilized by the fitness center that was here recently?
It is, excuse me, it is, and if you look at that same diagram on the right, I guess it would be the top of the page of that, that's, excuse me, that would be their parking area that they acquired, and the special exception that came through a couple months ago.
Okay. And then, if I understood, you said that you were going to lease spaces out of the River Center parking garage, is that correct?
That is contemplated as being an opportunity to provide maybe, if valet parking is part of their business plan, that the underutilized River Center deck could be utilized if needed on a market rate type basis, which has not been established what that rate is.
But that facility is owned by the city, correct?
It is.
And I just question the underutilization of that parking garage because I've used it numerous times during events downtown, and when there are a lot of events, it is not underutilized. I agree if you look at the weekly average, it's underutilized, but for large events, I'm concerned about the city leasing out that many spaces from congested parking in the downtown area, so that would be a big concern to me. But that's not part of this. That's not part of this application, as that would be considered. Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I can go over the traffic or the parking numbers for you. The hotel itself would be required, including the new rooms, to have 267 spaces. The meeting space would need 37 parking space, and the office space would need 4 for a total of 308. If they did on-site, the current on-site parking, RC lot, and the agreement with the River Center, they'd have 410. So they do have some flexibility in both of those areas.
Yeah, I'm just very concerned about leasing out spots in the city parking garage because it is congested down there and it's not underutilized during large events. That's all I have.
All right, that's fine. Any other questions, Commissioners? Yes, sir.
In relates to parking spaces, I know where the space at and, you know, hula hands and all the street parking. What about security for the cars that are parked there? Because there's been a lot of crime downtown, breaking into cars. So I want to make sure that people coming to the hotel are secure and safe. So could you answer the question for me?
Unfortunately, I cannot speak to security and how this private business owner, developer plans to secure his site. I really can't speak to that.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Any other questions pertaining to the case? All right. Thank you, Mr. Salita.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience like to speak for this case? Please come forward. Is there anyone like to speak against this case? Please come forward. All right. Seeing none, we have one out there other than our presenter. Commissioners, open up the floor for a motion. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Sure. In the case of EXCP-10-19-6699, a request for special exception use at 5 8th Street and 801 Broadway, considering that it meets the qualifications for a special exception, I move we recommend this to council.
All right, we have a recommendation for approval. Do we have a second? Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. All right, it's unanimous. Thank you, sir. All right, we have no other cases this morning. New business. Next meeting is scheduled for December 18th, 2019. No meeting on December the 4th, so you get a week off. Second thing we need to do is, did everyone have an opportunity to take a look at the meeting dates and deadlines for 2020? If so, we need a motion to accept those dates. All right, we have a motion. Mr. Bollinger, do we have a second? Have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor to accept the meeting dates and application deadlines for next year, please raise your hand. All right. Thank you very much. I believe that takes care of everything we have this morning. And is there any other business we need to attend to, Mr. Renfro?
No, that's it.
All right. We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, we have a bunch of those and seconds, and we are adjourned. Thank you.